All right, we are joining today, very exclusive, the people that subscribe to Self-Publishing with Dale L. Roberts. You guys are in for a treat today, and those of you in the Hustle Project over Facebook, you're going to get an inside look at a successful self-publisher, and this is going to be something that's ongoing, so I really highly recommend that if you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to Self-Publishing with Dale L. Roberts. Sure, you're going to have some funny jump cuts and quips and insights from my sarcastic and sometimes brave views of the self-publishing industry, but also I want to bring some industry experts in that actually can give a fun yet informative slant on the self-publishing industry. And so it is my pleasure that I introduce to you today someone actually I've been really trying to get in touch with for, it's probably been about a month. Her name is Camille Martin. And she's 20 years old, and she's a young entrepreneur, quit her day job at the age of 18. That's right, 20. I spent my years at 20 years old drinking and partying and worrying about things. And here, this woman is dominating Kindle Publishing. That's her platform. She sports her daily lifestyle. She's written her own books titled Self-Love Through Yoga. She has coached numerous people, teaching them how to make money online through Kindle Publishing. She also got recently accepted to a very unique scholarship program with Eben Pagan. If you don't know who Eben Pagan is, seriously, I'm going to pull this rock up and you come on, crawl on out, look up Eben Pagan. That's spelled E-B-E-N, last name P-A-G-A-N, because this guy is the bee's knees. He's the new news, I'm telling you. And she got to go and spend some time with him recently in Chicago and learn to be a more successful entrepreneur than what she is. And this is crazy because she's only 20 years old. So what kind of an impact are you going to make come the time that you're my age, about 40 here, Camille? So don't answer that question. It's rhetorical. I'm just excited to have you on. So how are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's like, this is like a dream come true to me. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. I'm going to start to dig in very deep. But before I do go in really deep, good God, how is it you tick a lot differently than most 20-year-olds because you're already wildly successful. And I'm not going to talk about numbers because I'm going to talk exactly how you carry yourself and how you exude just this, I don't know, you're happy. Your messages were amazing. And now that you and I are kind of talking person to person, it definitely further clarifies and cements the fact that you are a successful woman. So tell me, how is it that you're so unique?
If there's one thing that I truly learned in the event in Chicago, which I was this weekend, is that you gotta have a really vision, not just for yourself, but for the whole entire humanity. And when you're able to have an understandable, vision of how the world should look like in 20 years from now, that will change the whole entire game. That will decrease your fears, your fear of failures, your fear of poverty. And when you just look at that, just look at your vision 20 years from now, how the world will look like, it will change the game of how you desire to be right now and how you define success in the first place.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know how you're going to be able to follow that statement. Seriously, that is an impactful introduction. And I'm just blown away. This is really, really cool. You sure you don't want to just finish on this note and just hit it on a high note?
No, keep going.
That's awesome. Well, good. Let's spend about, somewhere short of an hour if we can, if not an hour. I'm not going to go beyond that because I don't want to get it to where people get too much. So I want them to keep interested here with you. So, all right. So let's start at the beginning here with you, Camille. I want to talk about, where were you at 2 years ago? What exactly got you into Kindle Publishing? And just kind of give me a little bit of background.
Yeah, it wasn't like any other people. I didn't have like really bad situation when I was young. I lived with a fairly middle class family, but I was a dreamer. I think that's the biggest one. My father was a businessman. My mom was just a 9-to-5 working for a job. And my dad really taught me how to become more comfortable with people. My dad taught me how to become a dreamer. So I started off as a dreamer, went to high school, but I didn't want to go to college because the most important thing that my mom taught me is that you got to figure out your strength. What is your strength? And this really is a really good question you might want to ask to your kids or to yourself, mostly for young people or anyone at your age right now. Because when you figure out what your strength is, you can really turn this into something else and you can master it. So that was the first thing for me. Figure out my strength. My strength back then was I was very talkative. I talk a lot. Anyone that I could see, any person in the street or in the gym, I just say hi to everyone. And that's when I figured out that's my strength. It's not science, it's not math, it's not English, it's just talking. So I tried to figure out what kind of job I need to have when I grow up. And I thought, hey, why not do marketing? Because marketers are very good speakers. And so I decided to do network marketing. And that's when the MLM business, multi-level marketing, that's my very first, interaction about business. And funny enough, I went to a seminar called Millionaire Mind Intensive, T. Harv Eker. Absolutely nice. Phenomenal. Yeah, exactly. And that's how I met Sean Stewart, my current boyfriend right now, my partner. And he introduced to me about self-publishing. And back then, I was so in love with MLM, and I told him, I was like, if you know what I'm doing right now, you'd be doing it too. And he was like, well, Camille, if you know self-publishing in Kindle, you'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now as well. So we went into that kind of He's
my kind of guy.
And so I was like, well, I don't know, let's just see, And so we kept going for a few months. I was still doing my MLM. Things weren't working out well. And I said, my mom came up to me and gave me an open look of how the world really looks like. And she told me, if this man is super successful, which Sean was earning so much money back then, and I was like, if this man is earning this amount of money, like, wouldn't you want to try exactly the same thing and see the opportunities behind it? And so I was like, okay, let me try it for 6 months and see where it turns out. If it turns out really well, I'll keep going. And oh my God, in just first 2 months, the amount of impact that Kindle Publishing gave into my life, that my lifestyle just like literally went to blooming. Like, it went unbelievably amazing. And I learned how to become a businesswoman. Not just because even though it's virtual, even though it's like, you talk to your writers from outside, they're around places, I learned how to become a CEO of a company.
Wow, it's really nice. It's so funny. You and I have such similar path lines.
Really?
I share that same MLM experience to where actually I had a semi-successful business through that. But I kind of found like I was almost compromising some of my own personal views. And
Absolutely.
I've always been wanting to publish since I was a kid. So it's so cool to see that you did the same exact thing. I'm not curious as far as, what company or anything else like that.
It's
obviously, you can pick any of them, but kind of take you a little bit off course, just self-publishing. Isn't it really cool to see the people that were successful in MLM? Was that something that really spoke to you?
Oh, yes. The growth. That was the most exciting part for me. Growing in that business, like personal development. Like that's how you learn personal development, through MLM.
Yeah.
So I suggest MLM if you want. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so funny. A lot of people, unfortunately, it just gets such a bad rap for being pyramid schemes, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. Yeah, there are going to be some less than savory people, but it's like any business. Self-publishing has some less than savory people, and I'm sure you and I will probably spread over into that region eventually. And it's something that I typically will spoof in my videos, is some of these less than savory tactics. But it's so funny that personal development was huge, and I think that it's so funny seeing my own story, and of course now that I see your stories and many of the other people that I surround in my inner circle, it reminds me of the success stories that I would see in these direct marketing businesses where these people got to walk on stage where they went from zero to hero in 6 months. You find yourself, you're like crying, you're like,
I want
this. I get all worked up. I'm like all teary-eyed. I'm like, my wife looks over. I'm going, I was yelling, tired, stupid air conditioning this arena.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, but this is kind of like, everything that I have learned into network marketing, into MLM, I took it into my self-publishing business, and now I want to enter into self-publishing, is that I really learned how to become a leader. And what that means is that you have writers, you have graphic designers, you have VAs. These are your people. You got to take care of them so well for you to have an amazing company.
Yeah. So now let's before we get too far ahead and talk about your team that you have now. How did you get your feet into the business then? So you already had your boyfriend that you're working closely with, and obviously he was able to kind of guide you through some of the process.
Yeah.
How did you start, and what led you to where you're at now?
So starting point was tough. I was completely broke because I spent a lot of my money in my MLM business. So I had to, ask my mom some money. I said, hey mom, I'm in this very tough situation, but please lend me some money to start this business and to just see how it works. And through proper guidance, if there's one thing that I learned at that time, was to hire a coach like right away. And I hired a coach that really tremendously changed the whole entire game of my business. And some failures didn't work out well. Some books I spent so much money in didn't work out well. We all go through that. Exactly. So kept doing until you hit that one certain target, one point, one niche that that niche is for me. And so that's when the whole entire thing changed. So if there's one learning lesson that I've learned throughout that, through my failures, through not succeeding well during the days where I had so much self-doubt because I didn't know how things are going to work out, hire a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I see a mistake that a lot of people do within self-publishing is they don't invest in themselves.
Exactly.
Maybe we can stick on this point just for a little bit. What if somebody can't afford coaching or they can't afford a good self-publishing course? What is a recommendation you would give them?
My recommendation is honestly it's really digging deep into your desire. That's first foremost, desire if you really want to do this or not. And if you have the desire to do this, you can find anything on YouTube. You can find people blog posts on how they create their systems.
Yep.
That's usually a lot of people really tackle into. And when they get that point of oh, there is a huge chance to win this game of Kindle Publishing, then you will really find a way to make it happen for you to hire a coach. Even for me, I didn't have money to pay for my coaching, but I knew that, and I believe that there's a way. I asked my mom for money. I really asked, even though it hurts my heart and it hurts my ego to even ask for money for someone who was 19, who had a job back then. It hurt my ego for me to ask my mom for money. But really, reach out. It's the only way for you to succeed. Help, ask for help.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so hard to abandon your ego for a moment and try to figure out, well, how am I going to come up with this money? But you could see that it's obviously paid you off in dividends. So you started out at this level. When did you know it was time that you could kind of scale it up and start building a team? And what was your first step into building that team?
For me, it started off when Sean, because Sean is a lot older than me, so he was like, let's go travel the world. We can do this because we have a business online. And that's when I knew that it's time to actually scale it up, hire people. And at that point is when the desire for your vision, when one vision is almost there, because my first vision was to be able to travel outside of Canada. And we went to Bali, Indonesia. That was our huge vision. And that took us 6 months to be able to get that vision. So in that 6 months, I could see it. I could already see the next staircase. And when I saw that next staircase, that's when I was like, okay, it's time to take up to the next level. And it's no brainer that it's time to invest more, not just to yourself, but to your business, right? And so that's when I started hiring more writers, hired more graphic designers, and hired importantly, my own virtual assistant.
Nice. Now, so where were you able to pick up some of these team members, the graphic designers, the writers and such? And what did you have each one of them do? Because I want to make sure that we break it down a little bit. That way, if there's any kind of beginners that are tuning into this,
Thank you.
I give them a better insight.
Absolutely. So with hiring writers, this is the most important thing in hiring writers. You really have to interview your writers, like get to know them, talk to them, ask them what makes a book page turner. How do you create your characters? You know, how do you create your outlines? Because if you're gonna have a long-term relationship with your writer, you might as well talk to them in a daily basis. Give them feedback. Don't be afraid to give your writers feedback. The more you give them feedback, the more they learn from you, the more they know that you can trust them, that I can trust them and they can trust me, because they're not afraid to make mistakes, and it's okay, you know? And give them things that they could use, like for example, if grammars is not good, tell them and ask them to learn more. You know, ask your writers to learn more so that they could be best at it. I also teach them how, you know, go to Amazon.com, look at the bestsellers, see how they write, see how they create their own description, and go through everything details by details. And honestly, this is how you build your own team. Because once you have amazing writers, you're gonna have amazing books. That's how you begin. And then you go to the cover designer. Your cover designer does honestly though, I found all of my team through Upwork.com. That's my go-to place. Absolutely. And so same goes with my cover designers. Most cover designers, I went through a lot of designers, like a lot of them, probably almost 10 different designers.
Ooh, man.
Seriously.
That was bad.
Yeah, like you gotta hit the best perfect cover designer who's willing to learn, first of all, who's willing to learn new things and what you're going to teach them. So I teach everyone. I teach my team. I teach my cover designer on how to create an amazing design. You know, I tell him, go to the bestsellers, see what's selling right now in the romance or fiction or sci-fi or whatsoever, so that they know what's trending and what's not trending. Because how I look at things could not be how he looks at things. And not how our readers look at things, you know? So you have to touch base with your readers' emotions, not my emotions.
So important. A lot of people unfortunately get very biased on some of their work, and then they shoot it out and go, why is it not selling? Why am I not getting any more sales? Why is it stagnated? Here's a common issue, and something I run into is a lot of people will say, they'll show me this awesome cover. They'll show me, they've got this keyword optimized, title and book description. What would you advise to those people that aren't having success on a particular publication?
Yes. So because the most important things with books is that as soon as they look at it, it's true what they say, that they judge by the cover, So if it means that you have to choose the picture of how the cover will look like, go ahead, spend some time, work on it until you realize the importance of covers. Because if you're going to go through the top 1 to top 20 bestsellers right now, they have the most amazing covers that you could ever see.
Yep.
So
that's so
spend
true.
some time. Don't be afraid to spend some time for the first few months into learning the most important basic in terms of publishing, which is covers. And yes, you may go through different troubles. Your cover designer might not be the best one, but keep trying, keep looking for them. If you want to make this business a long-term, business, you got to put in effort. You can't just be like, hey, do this for me and I'll give you money, and then give it back, make sure that it's good. It doesn't work out that way. You have to tell them what to do.
Absolutely. And it was something I discovered the hard way on my own, about a couple of years ago was, I was just throwing money at the situation, at the problem.
Exactly.
Make a cover, make this content. And then you come back and, I just would try to put up and, you can't turn, what's the best way I can say, screw it. I'm gonna say it to you uncensored. You can't turn chicken shit into chicken salad. So
exactly.
It's so funny. And, it's, a good friend of mine, Dave Kozil, and I, we've had this conversation before, and he's even said it on his own channel, where it's just like, he's like, you get down to the point to where you literally can probably put a bunch of garbage out with a great cover and people will buy it. Mm-hmm. Of course, you don't want to do that. So how is it that you vet out? So you've obviously got a good handle on how you handle the covers. How do you get good quality content?
So creating an amazing quality content, I've talked to plenty of writers, amazing writers, ask them how they create their outlines. And I want to share this out a little bit to everybody, whoever's watching this, is that you got to there's two kinds of characters. There's a flat character and there's a round characters. So flat characters could be like, you're amazing, 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 amazing. That's a flat character. But there's a round characters. A round character has a strength and has a weakness. So let's say, for example, the strength is attractive, but the weakness is selfish. So you gotta now create that this guy is super attractive, but he's selfish. So you gotta create something intensifying that makes the strength and the weakness come together to make it more amazing. So when you create an amazing one-person character who has an amazing strength, who has an amazing weakness as well, and can be combined together to make it more amazing, then you got an amazing content there. You got an amazing book that's gonna come together and put together. And then creating conflicts, like how can this man change? This really requires a lot of, internal asking questions, like example for yourself, asking yourself, how did I become better? Or asking some friends, how did this friend become better among all of the shit that has happened into this person's life? So everything that you create, whether that's a fiction book, mostly fiction, that's what I'm really good at, is that in creating a fiction books, you want to make sure that the books that you're creating are understandable by your readers. Mostly situations. This is what life is about. Life is just a story as it is, but how do you create an interesting stories from different characters?
Yeah, that's so really cool. I love talking fiction. This is probably one of my favorite things. It's so funny. I became wildly successful in my own personal name through nonfiction, and not too many people realize I actually do publish under an assumed name in fiction. And I love talking fiction because it's great to create these characters and get behind the psychology. And this is something I learned.
That's exactly right.
You got to learn to become a good writer. You got to learn to kind of pay attention to people and watch those minor nuances within them, and those extremes. Especially if you can find those extremes, it's so much easier to create a compelling story arc. Now, since we're on fiction, and hopefully we'll shift over to nonfiction eventually. If we don't, that's okay. Fiction I love to talk about. So let's stick around on this one. You're talking about good, compelling characters. Okay, because you can sit there and make a character, and like you said, make it just flat, where it's just like, this is Sarah. Sarah is a pretty woman. She's happy.
Yeah.
Or you can really get into in talking about this person in depth, and not so much. This is what I see a lot of these self-publishers that are getting into the business and wondering, why aren't my books selling? Is because they're not getting down into psychology. They're too busy telling.
Yes.
Let me tell you what Sarah is like. Sarah's like this, rather than showing. So my question to you is, how do you formulate a good story arc, and then how do you communicate that with your writer so that way they can really put together something that is something that suspends your reader's disbelief?
Absolutely. So first thing is, I really ask myself mostly because in fiction, majority of the readers are fiction romance, and then we'll go to mystery later, but in fiction romance, majority of your readers are female. What are the things that female likes? What do they love? They love being safe, protected, engaged. They love being complimented. You gotta create those things that women loves. You gotta put it inside the book. Like, this is what women love. They love being wooed. So you gotta create that in the book. And what are the challenges that females do not want to face? It's like rejections. We don't like rejections. We don't like being ignored. So then you create those things and you combine them all together. The things that women likes and the things that women doesn't like. You create awkward situations through the things that women doesn't like. So we're really targeting about women if you're, creating romance. And how about mystery? What are the things that guys love? Action. They love suspense. Guys just loves like fantasies and seeing new things, they love those. So you got to create that if you're creating mystery books and all that good stuff, and if you're creating something more like sci-fi, imagination, those kind of things. So how do I talk to my writers? Mostly as a romance fiction, majority of my writers are women. And I only have one guy who's my writer, long-term. He's actually gay, so he gets some certain things and aspects into it, you know? So I tell them, hey, this is what women looks like. We do research. We actually do research about women, research about the feelings, psychological things. What do women think about when they see an attractive man versus what women thinks when they see not too attractive man. Actually look for certain words like safe, protected, in love, certain words that really like dig deep into your heart and be like, oh, I like that word. Those things, we really use them a lot inside the book. So I communicate that a lot with my writers. So it's really a lot about psychological research. Like you said, you were absolutely right on that. Because in creating a book, it's really a lot about touching emotions. Nothing else but emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, a lot of people, unfortunately, they get wrapped up in this business because obviously they see a lot of these crazy off the chart success stories, the $0 to $15,000 in the first 30-day stories, but they don't understand that it really, those particular instances are fewer than they think. And the thing is people are too busy chasing the dollar sign. It's very clear that you're very passionate about what you're doing. So do you enjoy reading these books? I'm curious.
Yes, because I actually look forward of how the ending will look like, because I leave the ending to my writers. Like, okay, good luck with the ending. You can make it a twist, or you can make it a happy ending. You know, so I really enjoy writing. So if there's one thing actually I want to dig into that, if a lot of you guys like publishers, if you feel like I don't have time to like do my research, the best thing you can do is you go to Amazon.com bestseller, go to your certain category, let's say for example, romance, new adult and romance, go through the top 1 to top 20, go inside the description and look at certain words that they use that actually triggers emotion to you. Any words that just like any single word that triggers emotion. And then what next thing you go to is the reviews. All of the 5 reviews, 4 reviews, 1 reviews. In the 1 review, you get to see what people are looking for more. When you see in the 1 review, you get to say like, oh, I didn't like this part, or I didn't like how this girl said this. So now you get to see like, oh, okay, some readers don't like this. So you can change those things when you're creating your book. And then when you go to the 5 4-star reviews, you get to see what people love. So the things that people love, books. It's as simple as that. You don't have to go through a lot of different research if you don't want to, because I sometimes do. So just research the at least top 5 or top 10 book in your certain category, and you'll learn so much with how these people, you know, create their books.
That's so awesome. I like how you've kind of niched it down. It's so funny because a lot of people unfortunately take for granted that there are people that are successful in this particular field, and they think, well, how did they do it? It's easy. They have it right in front of you, you know, between the reviews, their book description, their cover. Absolutely. And all you got to really do is go through and duplicate it, and not necessarily plagiarize the point. And that's one of the things she kind of said is you just see what elements are they missing, and you say, okay, and what elements do they have? Let's marry those 2 things together, and I can provide good quality material. So yes, it's so funny. It's like the answer's right under people's noses, and you're going, look down, it's right in front of you.
And honestly, this is the secret to Kindle Publishing. What I just said to you is the secret to a page-turner book, the secret to earning tons and tons of money. Copy what's already working.
Absolutely. You know, and I was having a great conversation with a young man yesterday through a messenger, and he was getting into a particular niche, and he saw one successful book, and he was just like, he had pretty much looked up all the keywords and spun a really good title. Okay, and spun's probably not a good word because it sounds like he's, you know, plagiarizing, just turning around the words. But he was like, well, should I do this one or this one? And I was like, oh, you should do this one. He's like, but that's the other guy's title. And I was like, well, don't do that one. I was like, don't do that one, man. I'm like, yeah, you use your own. So that's the most important thing, because you don't want to try to recreate other people's work, but you do want to duplicate their success model.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another great examples. Like, let's say, for example, in the billionaire niche, there's like this one best-selling book. It's called The Billionaire for Auction, you know? So you want to create exactly the same thing kind of titles. Like, oh, maybe I can create something, the same thing, but not too close. Like The Billionaire Barter. Barter are two different words, but they're still like connected in some ways. So find something that you can kind of different, but similar enough. And then copy how the guy looks like, but not the same picture. And when I did that, that's when my book just like hit it off.
Nice, nice. Now, something you shared with me was you actually wrote your own nonfiction book.
Yes, I did.
Before we go over into the nonfiction and shift over into there, do you write any of your fiction material, or is that just all strictly hired out?
Hired out. I create outlines, I create characters. Sometimes I mastermind with my writer, and we mastermind about how our characters should look like. Makes it more fun and enjoyable to have, team, and it becomes more enjoyable.
Nice, nice. So on nonfiction, so you've told me about the one book. Give me a little bit more about some of the things that you've produced and your successes, and of course, I'm not going to let you get out of it. We got to talk about some of your failures.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So when I was creating, first of all, I actually created my own book called Self-Love Through Yoga. And I am not a yoga teacher. I just love yoga. So I was like, okay. And I saw the potential in that niche. So I went in there, see what's happening. And this is another important thing, is that the takeaway mostly in nonfiction is when I went through the yoga niche, a lot of books are about yoga for beginners. Yoga for beginners, there's like thousands of them about yoga for beginners. But ask yourself, how can I stand out? When you ask that question, a lot of imaginations and a lot of things just comes into your mind. And I said, okay, well, how can I, combine yoga and something that I'm passionate about as well? And that's when I realized that I'm really passionate about self-love. And so I was like, well, let's combine those two together. Self-love through yoga. Like, it can't get anywhere cooler than that, I think, at least. So you combine those two things together, and now you stand out. So I still make at least $200 every single month from that certain book alone.
Nice. That's good.
Because it stands out. It's really good enough for something that stands out, comparing to some book after like 6 months, it goes down. But this book, my book personally, I haven't touched it. It's just sitting there, and people are still buying it because love is such a powerful word itself. Yeah, so in terms of nonfictions, of course, there would be days that you get lazy creating your book, mostly if you want to create your own book. Exactly. You don't want to keep moving forward. You need some motivation. Sometimes you do like one paragraph and then you're like, okay, that's good enough, and those kind of things. And another lesson that I want to teach is that if you want to create your own book, start with a table of contents. I think that's the most important one. Start with your table of contents, understand what you want to put inside your book, what are the things you want to talk about, and then after that, that's when you can start including certain things and touch-ups and all that good stuff. So I don't know a lot of great things about nonfiction, but I just created my book because I loved it, because I love to create and to give something to people that needs it.
That's awesome. And see, that's where you really have captured what I try to, espouse to everybody, and the people that are coming into the business, is find something you're passionate about, because people will be able to feel your passion when they're reading it. I get these comments every now and then within my own reviews where people are like, you can tell Dale is very passionate about health and fitness. Yeah. And so you can see that with your readers, they know you're passionate about it. And of course, they're going to reward you for that, because they're going to continue to purchase $200, which, by the way, some people are probably sitting in their head, maybe they're new to the business, they're going, $200, that's not really good. That's actually pretty darn good for publication. That's pretty darn good. If you can, and that's excellent. So if you were able to get $200 per book, and you've got about 10 to 15 of those puppies up there, you're going to make yourself a nice little part-time income that
exactly
out of a 9-to-5 job and keep you working on this business, and of course scaling it upwards. So awesome work on that. Now, is there any other nonfiction books that you did outside
Actually,
of self-love with yoga?
nothing. That's all.
Oh my goodness. Are you gonna create some more? Because I mean, obviously you've had great success with this one.
I agree. I should. But the laziness sometimes just comes up. And another thing, actually, that's what I want to talk about regarding my failures. You know, in the whole entire Kindle publishing business, I literally went broke for once. I went broke because I didn't know how to handle my money. That's my biggest failure that I know that I've created in myself. And you have to know where you're putting your money. Important. I can't stress this enough, and I'm so passionate about this talk because I've been there and I know how scary it could be. That sometimes you don't even know what to do anymore, that you feel like the world is against you, but you have to be really good at figuring out how much money you're going to invest, figure out how much money you've spent for your house, for your clothes, whatsoever. Be good at handling your money. That's my biggest failure. I feel I felt so ashamed for myself because my mom gave me the privilege to give me money to invest on something. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, sometimes you lose all of it and then you have to find a way to get back up again. I know it's a shameful discussion, but this is something really important. Finally, I'm not there anymore. I'm out of that. So thank God I was able to get out of that. But really take care of yourself. Take care of your financial, and do not be afraid to look how much you've spent every single month.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's the biggest one. You can, because sometimes you just want to keep spending, you just want to keep investing because it's doing so well, but you have to be honest to yourself.
Absolutely.
And when you're creating books.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I keep interrupting. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You're on a roll. I don't want to stop you.
Absolutely. And when you're creating your books, if you're going to hire someone, just really, really make sure that you're going to hire an amazing writer. Hire a writer that's going to who's going to love you and who's you're going to love as well. Create an amazing team. It's so important to create a team because honestly, in Kindle publishing, you're going to learn what it takes to run a business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you got to treat it like a business. There's so many people that treat it like a dollar sign and a hobby. Yeah. And it pays them exactly that way. When you start to treat it like a business, and this is something I'm so glad that you brought this up, it's a business. If you don't treat it like a business, guess what? You're not going to stick around this business very long. And I'm going to tell you, in the couple years I've been in this, I've seen people come and go. They come in for their cup of coffee and they split out. And Camille, I want to alleviate any kind of stress that you might have in being very vulnerable. And I want to agree with you. I put myself into the poorhouse. You could throw $2,000, $3,000 within a month time into your business because you get so excited. You're like, well, I got this much success, so I should be able to get this much success. So then you're thinking, I'm going to scale. Well, the problem is you also got to remember you need to take a little bit of money. You got to put it off to the side for your own personal needs. You got to take a little bit of money, put it off to the side for any kind of business expenses, because sometimes things will come up that you're not prepared for. So, for instance, for me, I find that, I will run into, things that will be on sale, like through AppSumo. So they'll have images that you can probably purchase for your books or things like that. And you're looking at your bank account going, oh, damn, how am I supposed to come up with $39? I already spent it on all of my outsourced writers.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Honestly, great point is that there's always ways to outsource certain things. You can always find cheap photos that you can find there. All of a sudden, there's sale on this kind. So use that. And another thing is that regarding money, because I really want to touch base on this, because money is such a raw, but money is your teacher. It's a tool to teach you something emotionally and externally. Because sometimes when you're too afraid to look at your money, you will never ever move forward into the business. You always do not be afraid of money.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's going to afford you more in the long run when you do invest that money wisely. And a huge thing is saving. It's not about the money you earn, but it's about the money that you save in the long term. And I've learned this the hard way. And I think you've learned the hard way as well, where you're just kind of wondering, how the hell am I going to make it to next month? So
Exactly. That one is like the toughest like situation sometimes, you know, how can I go through next month?
yeah, I wanted to say real quick, I
Yeah.
want to give a big shout out to King Long. He posted on the YouTube channel, the YouTubes. He said, this is awesome stuff. So great stuff, Camille. We appreciate it. If
Awesome.
anybody's
Thank
tuning
you.
in live, we actually do have a Q&A feature. So if you actually popped into the events page, fire up your questions. I'm going to be with Camille about another 10 minutes. All right, I'm going to talk about some of the most common questions that I get brought up. And one of them, you ready for this? Oh, you're gonna love this one. This is the one where I just like you want. I actually had a long flowing locks about up to a year ago until I started pulling it out because of this question. Reviews. What is the importance of reviews, and how do you address that with your own business?
Thank you for asking me that question, because I have an answer for that to everybody. Subscription list. Build your list. Like, it's so important to build your list. On the first few months, you're not going to have a lot of reviews. But if you create an amazing book, a page turner book, people are going to opt in to your list. They would want more of what you're already creating. And that's how you start it. Once people start opting in, then that's how you create your people. These people who's opting into your list are your potential reviewers. Mm-hmm. This is the answer to reviews.
How is a person going to get like what would you suggest? Once again, let's pretend like we're starting from ground zero, not very much capital. Where would they set up an email list? Because they wouldn't want to just go through Gmail, would they?
Exactly. No. So in building your list, you always want to provide free stuff. Everyone loves free stuff, because when I give something for free, people want to learn more about what I'm doing. So free book, give a free book. Say, hey, I have an amazing 10,000 or 10,000, 20,000 word book for free. You can absolutely get it here. Just click this link below, and then it'll take you to the website. When you take to the website, you have to ask for their name and email. You have, obviously, right? So when they give your name and email, so then you learn how to actually send them stuff. So you create something like MailChimp. I use MailChimp back then. That comes only $10 per month. In MailChimp, that's how you start building your list. And then the more people start opting in, because you're giving them free stuff. A lot of people love free stuff. So you give them free stuff. And then once you're starting to scale up, at least you're seeing at least 100 to 200, 500 people opting in, then I think it's a great time to actually invest on one book and put it on free, like literally permanently free. Because when you have one book that is on permanently free, and then they see another book inside the permanently free, another gift, so two, a free book and a gift. When you get their subscription list, that's how they subscribe. And then you have to create, after they create your subscription list, and you have at least 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers, email everyone and ask them, hey, do you guys want to be part of my ARC reviews, the Amazon review? So that these people who's going to say, yeah, I would love to, they'll get all the free books that you're going to create. They'll get all your books for free. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
People that are part of your ARC list, those are the people that you can actually rely on regarding reviews. Like sometimes for me, when I talk to my list, I just tell them, I have this amazing book coming up. If you could please leave a review, it could help a sister out. Like I talk to them very formally. I talk to them very informally, like, hey bros, hey sisters, I have a book coming up. I would love for you guys to check it out. And if you leave a review, you could definitely help a sister out right here. And honestly, like out of 1,000 people subscribers that you have, you're gonna have 50 reviews that will come in and give you reviews.
That's excellent advice. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You get a gold star for the day on that one, because I was waiting. I was just I was gonna turn around and be like, if you were to like, you do it through review swaps, and of course, buying them on Fiverr, I would have been like, that's it, interview's over.
Done.
Done, finished.
No,
good answer. Now, so let's pretend like someone's brand new. Let's say they're brand spanking new. They don't have so much as a brand new stinking book. So in other words, they can't even do something permanently free. So which I want to make sure I clarify to some of our viewers. when she says permanently free, this means that this book is going to be made free through most major online retailers, because Amazon's not going to make it automatically free. So if anybody wants more information, obviously I'm going to give some contact information for Camille at the very end, and you can always try to directly contact her, and she can give you more information about her coaching program, and of course about how she does permanently free books. But you know, sometimes they won't have that gift. They haven't even so much started. So would you say that it's okay still to set up an email subscription and say, you know, like just a notification list?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually how I started. I just started with, hey, if you want, you know, notified that there's a new book coming up, make sure to subscribe on my list. So I usually put it on the very beginning before table of contents. Say, get into my list by clicking here, be notified when there's a new book coming out, and as well as at the end of the book, because it makes sure that if they read it until the end, it means they loved it. So there's a high chance that they're going to click that link and they want to you know, see more of what you create. So that's how you can begin. Start with that, and over a month, 2 months, you're seeing something. Invest your first $300 into creating your first, you know, free book. It's a great investment to have.
So I agree with you so much. And then, you know, if you don't invest at least that $200 or $300 or any amount of capital into putting a permanently free book out, at least build your catalog up to and just see which is your power hitter. And this is going to sound crazy. Something I learned through Russell Brunson is give away the best value you can. And people are going to come to you in droves. They're going to be like, so yeah, just look at your power hitter within your catalog. And when it comes to fiction, you get that awesome fiction. They're going to be like, they're going to look at it and they're going to go, this book's free? Are you kidding me? Like, I have found some of my favorite authors through free. You know, gosh, let me think here. Actually, I think it was Nico Laser. He's Canadian, oddly enough.
Cool.
He's an amazing, prolific author. You know, great stuff. But I think I got one of his books on a free promotion once, and I was hooked instantly. But yeah, this is so cool to be able to talk shop. So. And now we've got about 5 minutes left here. So I've asked the common question I get. What is a common question you get as a self-publisher?
For me, it's just a lot about reviews. Actually, you tap into it the most. Honestly, reviews. And this is the most important thing, because your list they're going to keep buying to you. That's where the real money is. The list, your list are where the real money is. And if you can build at least 5,000 subscription lists, it means you're doing an amazing job and you're gonna rock this. I mean, the first few months, you're gonna have at least 60 people, 100 people, you know, if you're just, if you don't have any free gift to give them, but that's worth it. 60 to 100 people, that's amazing already.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you're not up at that point, I really do have to, I'm sorry to interrupt, you know, 5 people, 6 people, show them love. Communicate with them, because it's all about engagement. You know, it's funny. I hate to kind of make this really awkward between you and I. It's not about the size of the list. It's how you use it. It really is. It's how you can engage. Because I mean, you can have. This is what I see in a lot of these groups. Is you get these people that will brag about their size. They'll go, "Oh, I've got 2,000 subscribers." Yada yada yada. Well, how's your engagement? Well, I don't know. I haven't sent any emails out. And you're kind of going, well, that's really nothing. You could just go start collecting people's emails and say, well, I've got a 2,000 subscriber list, but if they're not opening these emails. So what is a good engagement rate for you? In other words, what is a good way that, you know, first of all, opens people opening an email? What's a good percentage on click-through? In other words, they're clicking on your links to go to whatever you're sending them to buy whatever products or do things like reviews.
First of all, I always tell them that, hey, I have a new book coming up, and then I give them the first chapter of how the book looks like. Me and my writer really make sure that our first chapter 1, is going to be the most enticing as it could get. And then the chapter 1, a lot of people actually come back and respond. It's like, holy smokes, I look forward seeing this. And another one is I ask them covers. You know, I say, hey guys, I have a new book coming up. I'm kind of like in dilemma of which cover to pick. Would you choose A or B? And people actually comes and say, hey, I like A, or I like B. And then that's when they're like, when is it coming out? You know, so I tell them like, hey, it's coming out in a week or in 2 weeks. And then that's when they keep, you know, they're like over there in their edge of the seat and wanting to see it. So I keep them very engaged, mostly if there's new books coming up. Even though you're starting, it's okay. Do that. Do the first chapter. Chapter 1, this is a sneak peek of how chapter 1 looks like. And you'll keep them engaged. You'll keep them want to hear more and see more. And also asking them a lot of questions. They love being asked. Asking, what kind of point of view do you like? First person, second person, third person point of view in terms of our writing styles. They love answering your questions as well. So I actually ask them a lot of questions regarding on, what makes a fantastic female character. I ask them those kind of things. So ask questions. It's so good.
Yeah, that is the key to a lot of my successes. I literally try to directly connect with some of my readers. Yeah. And I really believe that's why I've had the success that I've had, is because I ask questions. Because before I was just throwing darts, with my hands over my eyes at the board, and hopefully a stick. But when I started asking questions, they're able to open my eyes, actually see a target, and start to aim at it. Because when you can talk with your readers and find out what they're looking for, you're going to open up big. It's a treasure trove. So all right, well, absolutely. We're going to start to wrap things up. Before we do, and we get your contact information, we'll get to that very last. If there was one tip you can give to somebody brand new to self-publishing, one tip, I want you to think about this for a second. What would that one tip be?
Yeah, if there's one thing that really comes in my mind, is always like, it's so important to treating this business like as if you're a CEO of a company. That you're a CEO of a big, big company. You got to know everything. You got to know your people. You got to know your contents. You got to know your money. You got to know how you can build this amazing tribe, because it's going to be your tribe. It's going to be your community. Your teams are your community. Your teams are the people that's going to take you off to the next level, as if they're your best friends. That's how you can win this game and build your list, because your list as well as your tribe, they're your tribe as well. Your list, they're your tribe, they're your community.
Oh, so well put. Yeah, that's so awesome that you actually include them as part of the team, a part of that community. Oh, yeah. It's not just extended to the people that work within house, but also outside of house. Because obviously, if people aren't buying, guess what? You're not in a business. If you're not making money and you're not making people happy and entertaining and engaging them, then you're just wasting time. It's not. You gotta remove the ego when you're in this business. I love it. Those are
thank you
words. All right, Camille, as we start to wrap up, how can people get a hold of you and get in touch with you? And is there anything else that you would like to plug before we close out the show?
Yes, before I plug in, I actually want to share everyone a lot of love and a lot of thankfulness, because Kindle Publishing is not going down, it's increasing more. Oh, yeah. Like Jeff Bezos is going to be the next richest man in the world, probably this year or next year. Amazon is just taking off to the next level. So, be there. Be in the long-term run. Don't just look at it as a short-term run. Like, be there like full 100%. Put your heart and love into it, because when you put a lot of your heart and love into these people, you're going to win this game. This is how you build a billion-dollar company even. So that's one last thing I want to share. And if you guys want to learn more about me, you can go to www.leicamille, that's LEICAMILLE.com. If you want to learn more about my coaching program, please email me at info@leicamille, LEICAMILLE.com. And just let me know how you found me, and I'd be more than happy to share with you guys everything that I've learned. So that's everything. Thank you.
Awesome. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we could easily cover another full hour, because I have a lot of things. It seems like we've definitely connected on a certain level. So make sure you stick around beyond this. I want to tell that there was a few people coming in and out, peeking in on the things and checking out what was going on. So I really do appreciate that you that hung in this whole time. Stay tuned. Over the next month, I'm probably going to bring in, actually not probably, I will be bringing in another successful self-publisher to give you guys a bit more insights, because I get a lot of questions. And rather than me spouting out what has made me successful, what has made me money, what has made me this, this, and this, I'd much rather bring in another expert and say, here, listen to them. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I will say ta-ta for now.
Absolutely.